Admiral Zexthon stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Dominion's Fist, gazing through the viewport at the small blue world that hung before them like a defiant jewel. 300 warships of the Galactic Empire surrounded Earth in a perfect blockade formation, their weapons charged and ready to reduce this insignificant planet to cosmic dust. "This will be easier than conquering the Vegan colonies," muttered Commander Grex, his 4 eyes gleaming with anticipation. "These primitives have barely achieved interplanetary travel. Their weapons are chemical-based projectiles and crude nuclear devices. Pathetic." Zexthon's mandibles clicked in agreement. The Empire had been expanding for 3 millennia, absorbing every civilization they encountered through overwhelming force. Species that submitted became slaves. Those that resisted became memories. It was the natural order of the galaxy. The strong ruled, the weak served or died. "Open a channel to all their communication frequencies," Zexthon commanded. "Let's give them the standard ultimatum." The holographic display flickered to life, showing the face of a human female, Secretary General Chen of something called the United Nations. Her dark eyes showed no fear, only a calm determination that puzzled the Admiral. "People of Earth," Zexthon began, his voice carrying the weight of absolute authority. "I am Admiral Zexthon of the Galactic Empire. Your world is now under Imperial jurisdiction. You have one of your planetary rotations to surrender unconditionally. Comply, and your species will serve the Empire as laborers. Resist, and we will glass your world and move on to easier prey." Secretary General Chen listened, without flinching. When Zexthon finished, she leaned forward slightly. "Admiral, I appreciate you taking the time to introduce yourself. On behalf of humanity, I have a counter-proposal." Grex snorted with amusement. "The primitive wishes to negotiate terms of surrender." But Chen wasn't done. "Here's what's going to happen. You're going to turn your ships around and leave our system immediately. If you do this within the next 6 hours, we'll pretend this conversation never happened. Refuse, and we'll show you exactly why that's a mistake." The bridge erupted in clicking and chittering laughter. Zexthon's amusement was so great that he had to wipe moisture from his primary eyes. "You have 300 ships surrounding your world, primitive. Your entire species possesses perhaps 50 vessels capable of basic spaceflight. What possible threat could you pose?" Chen smiled, a predatory expression that sent an unexpected chill down Zexthon's exoskeletal spine. "Admiral, you've made a fundamental error in your calculations. You see, you're thinking like conquerors. We're thinking like humans." The transmission cut off. "Sir," reported the sensor officer, "detecting massive energy buildups across the planet's surface. Whatever they're doing, it's drawing power from their entire electrical grid." Zexthon frowned. Energy weapons required massive infrastructure, and his scouts had reported no such installations. "Elaborate. The readings are unprecedented, sir. It's as if they're channeling the output of their entire civilization into some kind of—" The officer never finished his sentence. Earth began to glow. It started as a barely perceptible brightening around the polar regions, then spread like wildfire across continents. Within minutes, the entire planet pulsed with an inner radiance that made it visible even against the glare of its star. "Sir!" The tactical officer's voice cracked with alarm. "Energy readings are off the scale. Whatever they're charging, it's beyond our comprehension." "Impossible," Zexthon snarled. "No primitive species could generate that much power." Then the weapons officer screamed. Multiple launch detections. From Earth's surface, thousands of objects erupted skyward, not the crude chemical rockets the Empire expected, but sleek projectiles that accelerated at impossible rates. As they climbed through the atmosphere, they began to glow with the same energy that suffused their homeworld. "Evasive maneuvers!" Zexthon shouted, but it was too late. The first volley struck the outer ring of Imperial ships, and Zexthon watched in horror as his vessels didn't just explode, they disintegrated. The human projectiles tore through advanced deflector shields as if they were tissue paper, converting matter directly to energy in explosions that briefly outshone nearby stars. "Sir, those aren't conventional weapons," the science officer reported, his voice shrill with panic. "They're channeling the planet's entire electromagnetic field through some kind of mass driver system. Each projectile carries the equivalent energy of a small star." Another wave launched, then another. The humans weren't just firing weapons. They were hurling pieces of their own world at the invaders, each one transformed into a relativistic projectile of pure destruction. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was the laughter. Across all communication frequencies, human voices could be heard, not screaming in terror or pleading for mercy, but laughing with genuine joy. They were enjoying this. "Admiral," came Secretary General Chen's voice, broadcast to the entire fleet, "I tried to warn you. You see, every species you've conquered before shared one common trait: they were afraid to die. But humans? We've been practicing warfare for our entire evolutionary history. We've never met a problem we wouldn't rather solve with violence. And we've never met an enemy we couldn't eventually kill." Another salvo obliterated a cruiser squadron. The Imperial formation was dissolving into chaos as ships broke ranks, desperately trying to escape the killing field Earth had become. "You made two critical mistakes," Chen continued conversationally, as if discussing the weather rather than the annihilation of a star fleet. "First, you assumed we'd fight like civilized beings. Second, you gave us time to get angry. That was your first and last mistake." The Dominion's fist shuddered as a near miss overloaded its shields. Around them, the survivors of the once mighty Imperial fleet were fleeing in all directions, their formations scattered, their pride shattered. "Sir, we have to retreat," Grex pleaded. "These humans are insane." Zexthon stared at the blue world that had somehow become a weapon of unimaginable power. Its surface still pulsed with energy, and he could see more projectiles being prepared for launch. The humans weren't just defending themselves, they were sending a message to the entire galaxy. "Set course for Imperial space," he whispered. "Maximum velocity." As the remnants of his fleet fled, Zexthon made a mental note to recommend that Earth be quarantined indefinitely. Some species were meant to be conquered, others were meant to be left alone, and some, like humanity, were meant to be feared. Behind them, Earth continued to glow, its people still laughing as they cleaned up the debris of what had once been considered the most powerful fleet in the galaxy. They'd turned their entire world into a weapon in less than 6 hours, and they'd done it while smiling. The galaxy would remember this day, the day the Empire learned that some prey bite back.